Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful Reedville neighborhood in Boston, Massachusetts. We're really proud to be able to tell you that the Reading with Your Kids podcast was nominated for the iHeartRadio Best Kids and Family Podcast Award. We were nominated for that award because of all of your support and because we have great guests like today's guests. They are the author and illustrator of 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish. We'll be welcoming Beth Ferry and Tom Lichtenheld. Before Beth and Tom join us, we want to let you know about something so very special. Reading with Your Kids Live. That's right. We are looking to bring Reading with Your Kids on the road to your school, to your community, to your shopping mall, to your public library, to your church, wherever folks want to inspire families to read more. We want to go. The Reading with Your Kids Live events are going to be specially tailored for each community that we visit. There'll be magic workshops, there'll be story times, there'll be reading aloud, there'll be lots and lots of books. Check it out today. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the live event button. You do not want to miss this. Reading with Your Kids Live. Oh, this is going to be a great interview. I'm already laughing. Joining us on the line right now from beautiful New Jersey and from Chicago, it is the author and illustrator of 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish. Please welcome to the show Beth Ferry and Tom Lichtenheld. Beth, Tom, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having us.
I'm well. Thank you very much.
That's it. That's always a moment, you know, when I introduce two guests, they're always like being polite and go, should I say hello first?
I know, you should go first.
So I'm really...
I think we did well, huh?
You did very well. I'm really excited. Beth is the author of 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish. Tom is the illustrator. And first off, I have to say I received an advanced copy. I just learned it was called an F&G copy of the book. It's beautiful. The illustrations are great. The story is fantastic. My wife was very excited about it. She's a special needs teacher for first and second graders. And so congratulations. Great book. Beth, why don't we start and by you telling us a little bit about the book?
Okay, so it's basically a book that lists the 10 rules that you have to follow in order to make a birthday wish. Uh-huh. Not in order for your birthday wish to come true, but just to, look, I act like I'm, to make the wish. Mm-hmm. And there's an exception to almost every rule. And that's like the joy and the fun for kids is the exception, to the rule. So it tells you, you can make the wish unless you are a rhinoceros or a bug or a pufferfish or all these interesting weird little animals that wouldn't do well to follow the rule.
Absolutely.
So that's basically the whole book.
Absolutely. Wouldn't you agree that the exceptions to the rules, they're fun for kids, but they're really a lot of fun for adults too?
You know what, truly, I do think this book, I think kids are going to like it, but adults are going to like it just as much because, I don't know, exceptions are the best part of rules because there's truly an exception to every rule, right? Is that not true?
Absolutely. I absolutely agree with that, and it's something I've been living my life on. It infuriates some people when you're always able to, they go, here's the rules, and I go, well, you know what, let me talk to someone, see if we can work our way
let's
around
change that a little bit.
Now, one of the things that makes the book so much fun are the illustrations, and they're fantastic. Tom, I have to say, you have a very unique style. Where did this just come from the imagination of Tom Lichtenheld, or is there a particular style that you follow?
As anyone my age, I'm influenced by two things primarily: Mad Magazine, which was around the house when I grew up. My dad used to buy it ostensibly for the kids, but we couldn't read it until he was done with it. So I absorbed Mad Magazine as a child quite extensively, and then later as a teenager and in my early 20s, it was probably between Robert Crumb, and William Steig and National Lampoon. it's just kind of a soup of sarcasm and silliness thrown in there together that probably formed my sense of humor. And I don't know where my visual style came from. I'm still trying to figure out how to draw and what style to use when I draw. So I'm pretty much self-taught as an illustrator. I mean, I have a degree in art, but they didn't teach me anything. When I went to art school, people were getting naked and rolling around on canvases, and then we'd sit around and smoke French cigarettes and talk about it for a long time. So I don't know what I learned in art school.
And I can just hear parents out there who are saving up for their child's MFA going, nope, that's it, going to community college, I'm sorry.
It's not worth the money.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned Mad Magazine because it's certainly not the same level of humor, but there's a lot in 10 Rolls of the Birthday Wish that kind of reminds me of Mad Magazine, that just that kind of over-the-top kind of fun and silliness.
Yeah, there's irreverence thrown in there and the ability to go wherever you need to go to make a joke. Mm-hmm. Now, and some of there's jokes in there that, maybe the kids won't get, but I'm always surprised at how much they get. Mm-hmm. Like the dumb little joke about the pin the tail on the kid with the bug, the bug that is cheating. Because it's got compound eyes, and I don't know how many kids will get that, but we threw it in for the heck of it.
Yeah, well, those are the books, those are the TV shows that I think are the most fun. And I know myself when I'm doing my educational magic shows, or if I'm at a family event, at a fair, or doing a library presentation, I just love when I present a joke or whatnot, and there's only like 2 or 3 parents in the background laughing at it. Right. And the kids are just kind of sitting there going, do something else, this magic is silly. And meanwhile, there's like those 2 or 3 parents that are like falling on the floor laughing, and the kids are like, what's wrong with you? And I love it. That for me, that's like a real highlight. Beth, where did the inspiration for 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish come from?
So I know, I always know I'm going to be asked that question, and I always I think, why didn't I remember when I wrote it? But I think I was really thinking about rules, and I don't know if I was in a school where I saw a list of rules, but it was something like that where I thought about rules and how like some kids, how some kids are such rule followers and they like cannot wait to like tattle on all the non-rule followers. And then there's some kids that just cannot follow a rule to save their life. And so I was thinking about, wouldn't it be great if there was like rules that everyone would want to follow, everyone. And that's kind of where it came from. Like the idea of like anything to do with a birthday is pretty awesome. And like rules that have to do with the birthday. So that was the genesis. I really specifically don't remember like it's so sad that you can't remember that stuff, but it's true. But the idea, it was really with rules. It was playing with the idea of rules because like rules really rule a kid's life. They really, like they live by rules. And they have no power until, I don't even know how old. 18 maybe?
Well, I'm not finding a whole lot now. I'm a lot older than 18. But
so that was really like the spark was like playing with the idea, like something to do with how rules really are a big part of life, but a lot of people break them, and that's fine too. So that's my answer.
Yeah. Now, Tom and Beth, both you've collaborated on another book. Is this something that you chose to do, or were you brought together to create 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish?
I think we were brought together for the first book, Stick and Stone, and we didn't collaborate a lot on that one, in part because the manuscript was perfect when I got it. But then then Beth and I, kind of started to communicate a little bit and share ideas. And I think Beth shared this idea with me early on. I loved it, and I asked her if we could do some collaboration because, for one thing, it was too long. And I thought, well, if nothing else, we could collaborate on whittling it down. So we developed it together and whittled it down, and then went to a publisher after we had it, to the point where we really liked it.
Fantastic. I was worried that you were going to say that the manuscript for 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish came to you and it wasn't perfect like the first one.
I mean, it was really fun because I think, when you're an author, you really don't get to see the artistic process. Like, they don't share it with you. No one's like saying, hey, author, what do you think about this art? Uh-huh. And so this, for me, was such a gift because Tom would send me, like, the sketches, the stuff that he was just thinking about. And it was just a really, like, you could see, I'm sure that he was like, okay, get back to me immediately. I'm working. But I think for an author to see the creative process as the illustrator goes through it is truly such a gift. And it's very rare. And I don't think tons of people, I could totally be wrong, but I don't think tons of authors actually get to do that. And it was really just so because, the word can say, the line can be whatever, and he could truly draw whatever. Right. He could draw what the line is saying. He could draw exactly opposite of what the line is saying. So it was really fascinating to see how his mind works, because you don't get to a lot.
That's great, and it didn't scare you to see how his mind worked. That was
it didn't.
That's really good.
Not at all. It's really quite a joy, I have to say.
Now, how about for you, Tom? Was this unique experience of working so closely with an author? Is this something that you really enjoyed? It's certainly something that's probably different from your experience as well.
Well, actually, I've done it quite a bit. Because my background is in advertising, which is a very collaborative process. So I was an art director, and I would sit down with writers, and we'd stare at our shoes until we came up with an idea. So that process is very comfortable for me and very joyful for me. So I've always tried to do that. I don't always do it, but I've collaborated with authors when it feels appropriate, and when the author is open to it. Mm-hmm. And it's always a process I've enjoyed. It's kind of like you're just riffing together, and then together you edit and you throw away things that you can stand to throw away that aren't necessary, and you hone it down until everybody's happy with it. So it's a process I've done before and always enjoyed.
That's fantastic. Now, one of the things I ask authors and illustrators is, what do they envision families talking about after they read 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish together? What kind of fun things can happen after that experience? Beth, what do you think?
I think it's trouble for this book because you're not supposed to tell what your wish is. Oh. So I think the big question will be, what are you wishing for? And they're not allowed to tell. So I don't really know what they're going to talk about if they can't tell what their wish is. But hopefully, honestly, this is my true belief that every child thinks that they're the only person ever that's had a birthday. And I say this every time because it's true. Kids believe that their birthday is a sacred holiday and no one else has a birthday as important as theirs. Mm-hmm. So I think they just want to talk about their birthdays. I think they'll read this book and want to talk about themselves and their party and their presents and who's coming and what kind of cake they're having and how many balloons and all stuff that celebrates them. So I hope that's true.
And that's a pretty cool thing for a family to talk about.
It is.
Yeah. A few years back when I turned a milestone, and there's no need to tell the milestone. It was pretty ancient, but I'm not a big one for birthday parties, and I think I can't remember the last one I had, and we host international kids in our home. And one of our international kids had gone off to college and then came back to Boston to go to university. And she just called me up and she said, so what time should I be over for your birthday party? And I'm like, what?
Wait, was it a surprise?
No, it wasn't. No, she just decided there must be a birthday party. So I got off the phone. I said to my wife, I guess we're going to have a party.
That's kind of funny. Right, because it is worth it. Everything is, that's how I feel about books. Every book is worth celebrating, and every birthday, there's a lot that are, you slog through your days and weeks, and it's fun to have something to celebrate.
Absolutely.
That's an interesting observation because I think it will inspire people to be more festive about their birthdays. When I was working on the book, I have a brother who lives in Texas, and when I was working on the book, his two daughters happened to be in Chicago. So we got together and we had a birthday party for my brother when he wasn't even there.
I'm sure he had a really good time hearing about it, right?
Yeah, we Skyped him, but
That's good.
the book really got me in the birthday party mode. And since then, I've had a birthday party for my mom and some other people. So it does make you realize just how fun it is and what an important event it is for that person.
Yeah, and that's a really neat observation. It's like, this is a day that we are celebrating you. You're so important to us. And that was really sweet when Xiaojing called up and she said, we're going to have a party. What time should it be over? It was really sweet that this person who came into our lives felt that way.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I do. And I think, you don't feel important almost all year. You do your like normal stuff and you don't really feel. And so it lets everybody who loves you tell you, which is what I really like. That on your birthday you get a little love, and it's probably, they feel it through the year, like your kids and your other family, but they don't really tell you. So your birthday is a good day for that.
Yeah. It's interesting. Beth just talked about, celebrating birthdays is a great way to let somebody know that they're loved and remind them how much you love them. That's one of the reasons I started the podcast, is because I think reading with our kids, every time we read with our kids, it's a great way to let them know that we love them. So as an author and an illustrator yourself, how does that feel, creating books and knowing in the back of your mind that, a family is going to sit down and share this together and they're going to use my book as a way to express their love for each other?
Yeah, it's indescribable, the feeling. And we forget it because it's a pretty solitary job, both I think for writers and illustrators. But then once in a while you'll get a note from a kid or a letter and a reminder, and you think, oh my God, I just can't believe it. I got a letter from a fifth grader about a book that I did a while back called Duck Rabbit. And he told me the story about how that book was important to him even in fifth grade, because he'd read it as a young person and he enjoyed it, but it wasn't until he got into fifth grade that he looked at it again and he really understood it, and the full meaning of it, came to him, and it inspired him about, empathy and some other things that meant a lot to him. And it made me remember that when I was a kid, there were a couple of books for me that were pivotal as well. By famous authors, and to think that maybe my books influenced a kid to that degree is quite a feeling. It's indescribable.
Yeah,
it's what keeps us going. For me, anyway, it's what keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering. Are you both planning on collaborating on a future project? Do you have a project in the works? Is something you can give us a little preview of?
Well, Beth is very prolific, and we share manuscript ideas, and she shared some things with me, and there's a couple of things that are very interesting. So I'm sure will be something in the wings soon.
That's fantastic. Now, Beth, both of you have written a number of books, and we don't have time to talk about all of them. But, Beth, if there's one other book that you think folks should check out in your catalog of books, which one would you suggest?
Okay, I'm going to say Stick and Stone. I can't help it. It's like, that was my first book, Stick and Stone. I don't even know what it was for Tom, number what? I don't even know, 20.
20.
For me, I still, I just read it today to a school, on a Skype visit, and I still truly, I get such joy, complete and utter joy reading that book. And I think I always will, and I think it'll always be my favorite book, no matter what I write. And just not just the art, but how short the story is, and just, it says so much in such little words, and I truly will never be able to write that again, anything like that. But that's the book that I would say, Stick and Stone. It kind of has it all, in my, opinion.
That's awesome. And Tom, I'm going to ask you the same question, but before I do, since you have this background in advertising, I was wondering, do you have a favorite commercial from the last Super Bowl? I'm hearing that I was just focused on the game being in New England and everything.
I have a confession. I didn't watch. The further away from advertising I get, the less interested I am in it.
Funny.
So it just fades into the rearview mirror, and I look back and I think, I can't believe I did that for 25 years.
So I guess
I like the elevator one. You know
Okay.
that one with the elevator?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't pay attention to any of them. I was just
For
enjoying
both
it.
of you. I sat through the whole boring Super Bowl and watched the whole thing. And I was living for the commercials because it was so boring. Okay, should I be saying that? Okay,
That's
sorry.
fine. That's fine. We just had our parade yesterday. That's okay. So anyways, Tom, you just answered the question that I was thinking of asking about, getting out of advertising and into writing and creating children's books. I guess it was a good decision for you.
Yeah, but I always recommend to young creative people who are looking for a way to make a living, I recommend advertising all the time because it's such a great way to develop so many skills. Number one, you're working with other creative people all the time. Mm-hmm. Number two, you're working under pressure. So your creativity is under pressure and you've got to come up with ideas. Number three, you're learning about marketing, and everything is marketing. Mm-hmm. So when you go on to something else, if you do, you're going to have those marketing skills just kind of built in. So I don't mean to disparage the industry at all. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, and number four, when you leave, you can look back and go, wow, I'm glad I'm out of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, I love what you're doing. And I mean, one of the things that we talk about, especially with the indie authors that come on, is you're right. Everything is marketing, especially nowadays. And, especially if you're the author of a book or an illustrator of a book, especially of an indie book, marketing is all up to you. Writing a book is just a little bit of the process. It's just the start. Yeah. It's just the beginning.
It's the beginning, right? It's the stepping stone to everything else you have to do.
Yeah. And that's even the case for authors who are published through traditional publishers as well.
They expect you, they expect you to do a lot. Mm-hmm. Which I guess, and you know what, you really don't mind in general because you do love your book. I mean, that's normally the case. Like, you love your book, so you really don't mind talking about it a lot or, reading it and going places. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. And it must be a blast. Just ask both of you, how much do you love meeting kids and sharing your stories and your art with kids on school visits?
Well, it's great. And not only do you get the energy from them, but you'll learn a lot from them. And their perception is incredible. I've got stories about cases where kids saw things in my books that I didn't see, that I didn't realize were there. They're seeing, deeper meaning. And it's just, I mean, there've been times when I've just been up there like quivering because some child said something about a scene in a book that I didn't even see. Uh-huh. So, and then you get funny stuff, like when the kids are asking questions. One of the best questions I got from a kid was a little girl who raised her hand and said, "How do you make your hair two colors at once?"
Oh my God. Okay.
And I just said, if you hang around long enough, it just happens.
It happens all by itself.
I didn't have to go to the salon or anything.
And Beth, what about for you? What do you find most joyous when you meet kids and share your books with kids?
You know what? I really mean this. My kids are all grown up, so I forget how smart they are. Uh-huh. Like, I really mean it. Like, they're first grade, so you think like, oh, what are their questions going to be? And some of their questions like blow me away. And I think it's really like, that's my best. I love reading the book. I love seeing the reaction, but I love their questions because I'm constantly amazed. I'm like, oh my God, how old are you? Like, sometimes I do. I think like you're 5. Uh-huh. Like, you just ask like some of the questions and they're so spot on and they're so relevant and you've read your story and they get it. They get your story. They understand it and they're asking you questions about it. And I don't know. I love that part. I love seeing, because you forget, you think, oh, they're just little kids. And then you're like, no, you're really just smart people.
Yeah.
You're
and the questions that reveal that they've really read the book and really thought about it. I mean, number one, it tells you the teacher has done a good job. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But number two, it tells you that they're really processing it and doing some critical thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's more than just throwing some words together and some pictures together. There's, I say this all the time. Some of the best writing around can be found in children's books.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, there's books, like that. Even like there's books like for me, I like the heartwarming books, like not always to write but to read. And there's some books where I'm like, okay, hold it together, like don't cry at the end, because like it's so moving, and you think like this is a 600-word picture book, and yet it's so awesomely moving. And I think like, oh my God, to give emotion, I don't know, for a book that short to be able to give you the feelings that are adult feelings is pretty magical.
Absolutely. Well, before we go and say goodbye to the authors of the 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish, I want you both to tell us where we can connect with you online. So, Beth, can you start off and just let us know where folks should go to learn more about Beth Ferry?
Sure. I have a website that's bethferry.com, and I'm on Twitter, but that's about it. I'm not like a huge social media person. So my Twitter is, I think it's Beth Ferry 1. And I tweet stuff about the birth. I actually am tweeting like fun birthday facts every day now.
Awesome.
Like weird, interesting birthday facts, which are very weird and very interesting.
We'll have to check that out. Tom, Tom, what about you? Where can we find you online?
I've got a website, simply tomlichtenheld.com. And I think I'm on Twitter. I'm just T Lichtenheld.
Awesome. Well, we have had the pleasure of laughing and speaking with the author and illustrator of 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish, Beth Ferry and Tom Lichtenheld. Beth, Tom, it's been such a pleasure. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much.
It's not my birthday yet. It will be soon. But if it was my birthday, my wish would be that you would join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be coming to us from Slovenia. I think it's going to be our first guest from Slovenia. Her name is Vivian Miniker, and she's here to tell us about a new look at Robert Frost's Road Not Taken poem. It's really a fascinating conversation. Earlier in the show, I told you can go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, to find out about our all-new live event. There's so much there you can find out about. You can find out about how to be a guest and to come on the show and tell the world about your great children's book. You can also learn about our Certified Great Read program. Now, this is great for a couple of reasons. First off, if you're a parent or a grandparent or a teacher or librarian looking for a great book to add to your family library or your school library, you want to check out our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program Wall of Fame. That lists all of the books that have passed our rigorous Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read evaluation process. We have a team of educators, parents, and kids, and if they believe a book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. If you're an author, this is a great way to help your book stand out from the crowd of other children's books that are out there. You worked really, really hard on your book. Now that the book is written and published, that hard work has to continue. Like Beth and Tom said, you are responsible for doing so much of the marketing. We can help with that. Check out our Certified Great Read program at readingwithyourkids.com. Hey, we want to thank Beth Ferry and Tom Lichtenheld for being here today. Make sure you check out their book, 10 Rules of the Birthday Wish. I had such a great time speaking to them. I had such a great time speaking with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, as always, for taking the time to make the world a better place by making my wish come true and making your kids' wish come true. You do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.